Hello everyone, I am Kukuletu Mfupi. Now some important changes come into effect on the 1st of March 2021. And if you are saving for your retirement in your company's retirement fund, it's important for you to understand these changes. So what is changing and why are these changes taking place? Saving for retirement is challenging for most people. Saving enough of your salary from your very first paycheck, investing in the right long-term investment strategy, not spending your savings when you change jobs, and then making a good decision about what to do with your savings when you finally reach retirement are all important aspects of a solid retirement plan. These changes are part of government's plan to simplify the retirement funding landscape so that it's easier for people to understand how to save for retirement, what tax breaks are offered to them on their retirement savings, and to ensure that they use their savings wisely to provide for their needs in retirement. Currently, there are 3 types of retirement schemes in South Africa: pension funds, provident funds, and retirement annuities. In the past, these have all had different rules, different ways within which they were taxed, and even different benefits. Now, this is complex and makes it difficult for people to understand. So to make it easier for people to save for retirement and to understand their retirement plan better, government has commenced a plan to treat or blend these 3 types of investment schemes. On the 1st of March 2021, the next step in the process is coming into effect. Now, you don't need to do anything just yet, but it is important for you to understand what these changes mean. And this video is part of a series of 3 videos that will help you do just that. Andrew Davison joins me now to discuss the impact as well as some important considerations for employers and retirement fund trustees. Andrew, I trust you're keeping well and it's great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's get into the hot question in terms of understanding how this legislative change does impact employers as well as the funds they have.
Yeah, so one of the important things about this change is that it's all about a harmonization of pension and provident funds. And what that means is that the differences that existed before now are no longer there. So in fact, there's no reason to have 2 different structures. In the past, there were some employers that had, for example, a pension fund and a provident fund. The members contributed a portion of the contributions to one fund, the other portion to another fund. There's no reason to have that difference now. And in fact, because you have 2 funds, there's a duplication of the costs. So it makes sense to rather rationalize, consolidate the 2 funds, clean everything up, and you've got one fund. You get the economies of scale, and obviously those cost savings can be passed on to your employees.
Andrew, sounds like it's certainly making life a lot easier in terms of simplifying the structure, but we know mergers and acquisitions are a day-to-day occurrence within the business world. So how does that actually impact on employers as well as their pension fund structures?
Yeah, that's a good point, because often a company might acquire another company. They've got their own fund. Maybe that's a provident fund. The company acquiring them has got their pension fund. It was difficult to consolidate. It was difficult to merge those 2 because of the different treatment, the different tax structures, etc. Now, we actually have a situation where it's the ideal time to tidy up those retirement schemes and those structures. So even we've seen companies with 6 or 7 different retirement funds or retirement schemes as part of their HR makeup. Now is the ideal time. You can actually consolidate all of those into one fund, one big fund. You bulk up on the assets, which obviously allows you to negotiate better fees potentially with the asset manager. You remove the duplication of costs, admin costs, duplicate boards of trustees, etc. So there's a lot of room to tidy things up.
Sounds like we should be breathing a sigh of relief, but I am aware that there might be other changes that employers need to be mindful of. Tell us a little bit more about those.
Yeah, so there are 1 or 2 things on the admin side, things like payroll, claim forms, retirement processes, the support for your employees when they get to retirement. That potentially needs to change a little bit, particularly if it's a provident fund. So make sure that obviously you have considered that the fact that now your employees have got some additional choices that they need to make. For a lot of provident funds, even though there is a requirement to put in place what's called an annuity strategy, in other words, support for a person in terms of what they need to do with their savings when they now get to retirement, a lot of provident funds said we don't have to worry about that because provident funds, the members take the lump sum. Well, now actually you do need to think more carefully. Have you got the right products available to the members to make it a good choice at retirement, and have they got the right support?
You mentioned provident funds, and that raises a question in terms of additional support that they actually might need to provide for their members in order to make sure that this transition does happen quite smoothly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing, is that you need to, first of all, make sure that you communicate with your members. And whether there's a provident fund or a pension fund, remember, people read or they hear noise, they get concerned. They don't realize that that's maybe relevant to a provident and not a pension, and they're in a pension fund. So even if you're a pension fund, communication is a good idea, but particularly if it's a provident fund. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of panic. People don't like rumors that things are happening with their retirement savings. They don't want to lose out. So make sure that they understand that their rights are being protected, their savings are still intact. There are just some changes in terms of what will happen at retirement, but they don't have to make any decisions right now.
Communication is certainly what's needed, virtual or in-person or telephonic, just as long as our mics are not on mute, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Andrew, for clarifying some of the changes that employers and employees need to be aware of. Well, we also hope that this has helped you get a better understanding of the changes to retirement reforms. But do make sure to watch the other 2 videos in this series to make sure that you have a better and broader understanding. Thank you so much for watching. Do take care.